So let's talk about the one longevity biomarker that pretty much all longevity and health optimization experts in the space agree upon, that can really give you a predictive value of how fast you're aging or the impact that stress is having on your body. And that has to do with measuring your fatty acids, or rather your red blood cell fatty acids. And the reason that is because inflammation runs rampant in your body when you're under stress, when you have poor dietary choices, when the world's coming at you from multiple different angles. Ultimately, when your body doesn't get the proper nutrients that it needs, the inflammatory pathways that are based on your essential fatty acids can start to get out of balance. And when we look at these particular markers on a test, we call these biomarkers, and these can be really, really insightful for what that pathway is doing in your body and how can we modulate it based on our dietary intake so that we can start tipping the cards in our favor and be able to really modify the things we can do that can slow down and even reverse our aging. So I want to get into the exact test. It's called the Omega Quant, and I'm going to explain to you exactly why it's so helpful, what's included on it, and what your different options are in this entire video. So let's dive in. Hi, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen, and I am a health optimization and longevity coach, and I help exhausted men and women that are looking to discover their fountain of youth learn that it's inside their body, and they just need to learn how to tap into it so that they can reclaim the energy that they once have. And on this video, I want to talk to you about the longevity biomarker that I think is so key, and to be quite honest, I've really been sleeping upon because I'm so deep into the nutrigenomics and the inflammatory pathways that are impacting your body's ability to make energy. I've slept on how important testing for your omega fatty acids are. So that is, it measures your red blood cell analysis of your fatty acids and what they're doing in your body. We know that the eicosanoid production and prostaglandin productions can really be chemical modulators for when our body's inflamed, when our body's dealing with stress. And the more we see the ratios, the more we understand how fast the body's rate of aging is accelerating or how slow it is based on these key markers. And in the Omega Quant, you have 3 different options that you can choose from basic, from plus, and from complete. And basic can be $50 and the complete can be $100, with the plus in the middle at $79. Now, my personal preference, I like the plus test because it has key markers that I'm going to be explaining to you in this series of why I love the Omega Quant so much. But in this particular video, I want to tell you what exactly these tests that are included. So in the basic, we just have the omega-3 index, which is a really important marker that tells us the percentage of EPAs and DHAs in your red blood cells in comparison to all the other fatty acids. Now we know we have omega-3s, we have omega-6s, we have omega-9s. Omega-3 and omega-6 are parent essential oils, which means they're essential for processes to happen in our body, like we were saying, the chemical signaling and being able to settle down inflammation. And the omega-3 index can be very, very helpful because, quite frankly, it's backed by science, where a lot of studies have been showing that the higher the omega-3 index, the longer the longevity. Japanese citizens, because they have a diet rich in omega-3 fish oils, they have longer longevity. So it's very important to understand what your omega-3 index is. It's also very important to know if it's 4 or below. 4 or below also has the more risk factors for illness, for cardiovascular diseases, for brain decline, for eye health. Any metabolic tissue is going to require the proper regulation of inflammation. And if your omega index is lower than ideal, then you know your inflammation is higher than ideal, and it's accelerating the aging process. So the omega-3 index is the only marker that's included in the basic panel. In the plus panel, you now get the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. You also get the omega-6, specifically arachidonic acids ratio to EPA, which is one of the most important markers and is the reason why I like the Omega Quant Plus test over the basic test for that very reason. The Omega Quant Plus also takes your trans fatty acid index, which is another very important marker to see if you're getting hydrogenated or trans fatty acid exposures, which can actually be a byproduct of the processing of certain foods that you might be eating that I'll tell you a little bit more in detail in this series. But it's a very important marker to understand how your omega fatty acid levels are being balanced based on this test. And then you have the complete Omega Quant test, which I'll explain to you on another video. But for now, the walk away is, okay, well, let's say I do the test and it shows that my Omega Quant ratio is not quite 8-1 or 12-1, and I'm at 4-1. What do you suggest that I do? Well, the easiest thing to do to up your omega-3 percentage in your entire blood of your omegas is to eat more omega-3s. So we see these in oily big water fishes like tuna, mackerel, salmon, cod, and then you can also get it in supplements such as algae, cod liver oil, fish oils, and krill oil. So as you can see, the reason why the longevity experts back this particular test is because it's determining your specific omega-3 profile in your blood, which is correlated with healthy aging and longevity. Make sure that if you do the test and you see that you're not quite at 8, you want to increase your ratio of omega-3s. And what's really cool on their website is they have an omega-3 calculator based on your height, your age, your weight, your sex, and some other variables that you punch in what your score was, and it will give you a recommendation on approximately how much milligrams per day of omega-3s that you need to be able to boost it into the 8-12 ratio. So that's a really great feature as well. So you can see after all of that why I'm so excited about the Omega Quant and be able to really understand how the impact of stress, how the impact of longevity science, and how the impact of objective findings are having on your aging process. And by looking at the Omega Quant, you can look at different fatty acid ratios to really glean some amazing information. On this particular video, we talked about just the basic, and it tells you about your omega-3 index. On the next video, what I want to do is I want to explain to you exactly what's included on the Omega Quant Plus test and why those markers are so important. I'll give you a clue. One of the markers that we look at is the different kinds of fatty acids and the different kinds of omega-6s. And there is this particular omega-6 that is a saturated small chain type of omega-6, which in English means that it's palmitic acid. And you would think that if you eat fish oils or saturated fats, that you would have more of a likelihood to raise that particular biomarker. But the studies have actually been showing that the more carbohydrates you eat will raise that particular fatty acid. So when we talk about on the next video all the things that are included on the Omega Quant Plus test, we're going to be explaining just exactly how that works, why these other markers, and looking at arachidonic acid ratios to your omega-3 EPA is key in all longevity and biohacking programs and protocols that you're going to be putting together. So if you're getting any value from this video, just make sure you go ahead and like and share this video, or you subscribe so that you can get important updates when we drop our next video. And make sure you check out the link in the description so you can see part 2 of this series.